Hello, friends. Current mood apathetic, low. I'm on set to not wanting to do certain things that I usually can keep up with. General, basic things. So keep in mind that when that comes around, that's when depression's coming on. It's always a sign to me that when I am thinking about something that I need to do, laundry, whatever, and I and then there's that I gotta pull myself to go do that, and it gets just say worse and worse as I slip into depression. So all my tips for depression to get myself out of depression or further away from depression, which has been effective, is what I am going to do now again. So this cycle system that I have to do over and over and over again is going to be what I have to do over and over again for the rest of my life. And if I had known about these things that I could do for depression when I was 21 up to 36, 37, that'd have been real lovely. So I say refer back to some of my depression tip videos if you are interested in something other than pity. I hate to put it that way. It just seems that people are more concerned with pity, because pity is just a little pool that they can swim in where they get plenty of what they need in pity. And I'm saying that there's more to bipolar videos, BPD videos, than having videos about your special interests where you want to show off your toys or you want to show off your animals or whatever, and then bopping in and crying for 30 minutes and talking about how you want to take yourself out or whatever. I'd say there's a little more to it on actual connections with people that have tips, possibly older individuals that have lived through whatever. And some people are in their 50s and 60s and they never really did anything or enough to get a grip on the depression, get a grip on the mood swings and such, which is always going to whip us around, which is always going to beat the hell out of us. Still, there's tips, there's videos upon videos of things that you can do for yourself and for other people as well. It's killing me that out of the hundreds of videos I watch, it's just people talking about themselves. And that's it. That's my birdie. You have something you want to say? You have something you want to say? People just talking about themselves. And that's it. That's their 20-minute video, that's their 2-minute video where they say, this is my story, this is my experience. And it's usually some kind of, it's really dramatic. Sometimes they'll have dramatic music playing in the background, and they'll have tears. And I've responded to many of these videos where people are crying and they're sad. The realization is, I don't know these people. I don't have anything to do with these people. I'm not in their area. I don't know them personally. I don't know their name. I don't know their families. I don't, nothing. And I'm going to sit there for 30 minutes and listen to someone cry and say that they don't want to live anymore. But the first time I ever saw a video like that, it was heart-wrenching. It really was touching. Well, after seeing hundreds of videos that way, it's not, I, I really am not affected by those videos anymore. Because I understand that there's psychologists that are paid to sit there and listen to people cry and tell them that they don't want to live anymore. And there's people out there that get fulfillment by listening to people and then commenting on their, oh, it'll be okay and everything, and I love you and all that. Well, that's all nice. That doesn't, it's not actually any kind of tips, or it's not any kind of anything that can have anything to do with actually getting that person out of that depression. And the sad, very, very sad thing is I could see there's 14,000 views for some attractive looking female who's just bawling and crying. And then I've seen, and this is really strange, I've seen other attractive females with 20 views or 400 or 500 views and 0 comments. And their whole video was about how they wanted to end their life. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, all those people that said that they liked it, and all those people that said all those things, not one person said, hey, happy day to you. Nothing. So it varies, and it's so strange to me that it'll take up chunks of my day just thinking about how odd that is. How is that happening? That one, it's interesting how one person will portray another person so they'll look like Sniper Wolf girl with the glasses, and they'll have some facial features that are similar to that person, and then they have their higher views, and then someone has more of a unique beauty look to them, and they're not fitting in with someone that people are noticing at the moment. So their numbers are not going up. So they're not going to be getting as much attention. Not so much about the numbers. You know, if you have 14,000 people sitting there listening to you cry, and you've got 600 comments of people saying, oh, it's okay, it's okay. You could sit there and read all these people just saying, oh, we love you, it's okay, we don't know you, we have no idea who you are. It's good for you, everything's wonderful for you. You have so many things to live for, and we think that you're wonderful. On to the next comment. Be good, be great. Pray, be good. Down to the next comment. I love your videos, you're a great person. We love you. On to the next person, on to the next person. What about that other person that got that 20 views, was talking about how they didn't want to live anymore? It's a 3-month-old video, and I'm noticing that there's 0 comments. Not a single person saying, hey. And I noticed there's hundreds of views, or there's 30 or 40 likes, and there's not one comment saying, hey, something to you. Some kind of gesture of niceness to them. Now that's a mind twist right there. I don't really know exactly why that is. The things that I mentioned about that people notice, oh, she kind of looks like Sniper Wolf, and oh, maybe she has things that I can take from, and she has her channel's going to go somewhere, so I'm going to leech onto that, and I'm going to get something from this and get something from that. I'm getting too much of that from humanity, way too much of it. I don't know where my personality, with my mood swings, where I can be ultra compassionate and ultra apathetic. I don't know where I'd come into that whole equation, because I can be a real piece of shit, and I can be very loving and very caring, and I can really put in a few hours of actually thinking for another person. And I got to say to myself for a second there, hang on, hang on, hang on. What am I doing here? Why, there's a lot of people out there that are crying right now. There's a lot of people out there that are not going to make it through the day. And they're not. The one thing that I think that's really interesting is the videos where they get those 1,400 views. They talk about how they have depression, and they talk about how they have. And this is. I'm not saying that I have the answer here. This is a question. I want to know, because I know in my lowest of depressions, I'm not crying. I'm not. There's nothing inside. The only thing I'm thinking about is really death, and I'm thinking about real dark things. And if I am coming out of that, or I'm using substances, or I'm doing something, then the tears might start coming down. And when I'm real low and real depressed, I usually look very haggard, and I am unkept, and things are not real wonderful. And I think it's really strange that some of these people that are so depressed have their hygiene is real nice, and they have real nice things, and their makeup is on, and they've been to the salon, they got their hair done, they've got their channel is real put together, they got their videos all nice, and then all of a sudden they bop in, I'm real depressed, I'm real low, and all this. And I'm not saying that they're not. What I'm saying is it's just too odd to me that I've seen so many videos of people with depression, that people with absolute depression never have any of those things going for them. They don't have their makeup on. They don't. Their hair looks like shit. They. I'm. I'm not able to know if they've been brushing their teeth. There's no smelling their breath through the fucking videos. Depression is possibly comes in multiple ways. It's it's probably not all one way. I know depression being as something is where things are just not being done. And when I'm watching someone saying they're depressed and they're crying, well, first of all, I'm saying to myself, in real, real low depression, there is no emotion. There's no crying. There's no emotion. And there might be some argument there. First, a depression is a depressed brain where you're not doing a whole lot of things. So that's kind of a fact right there. And I'll say it. Another fact is people will lie. And they'll use certain topics and they'll use certain ways to get things in life. They will lie to get things in life. And if you think, oh, people wouldn't do that because it wouldn't really bring them proper attention to their channels and all that, I say think again. I think people will do whatever because they always can erase those videos. I was watching one yesterday where a girl was talking about, I had all these, and she was crying, I know I had all these depression videos and everything. I erased them all. Yeah, she's erasing possibly her bullshit. And this is where people are wanting to gain off of people that are actually really depressed. And that makes it a little skewed in a way. It does make it very skewed. I saw a lady a couple years back, and if you're watching this, I saw this video. She was probably about 50. And her physical appearance, I mean, her her muscles or her nervous system in her face had gone out, and her health had deteriorated, and she was pleading. She wasn't crying. She was just saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. All I know, the last thing, and she said, this is the last fucking thing I ever want to do, is I'm going to have to go to the mental health place and go to them. I'm going to have to go to them. I didn't get that saved. This was before I started doing my playlisting and saving videos such as that. I needed to save that video. I needed to go back and look at that video, because her physical look was depression. When you look at someone that has depression, they have a physical look. There's sometimes, a lot of times, there's the gray rings around the eyes, the black rings around the eyes, the sunken eyes as they're called. You know, there's people out there that, pastors and political people that are 100% full of shit. And they know it. They don't say it, they know it. And they portray something that's false. And I really, it pisses me off a little bit. You're not going to get around it. With labeled BPD individuals where there is the fluctuation of mood swings, and it's not a major depressive state or an ultra low where you're not even making a video because you don't even have the go in your brain to go to your phone to make it, to think, to produce something, to do something. With those waves and in and outs of all kinds of different moods, well, that's a different situation. So it's always a possibility that some of these people are coming in and out and deleting those videos for that reason. It's a personality thing. They're unsure. They don't know their identity. They don't know why they're doing it. They don't know why they're crying and deleting the videos and all that. I've seen lots of that kind of stuff too. They're not a popular channel. They're not popular views, and they also still delete their stuff quite a bit with the mood swings that are coming around. And that's always a possibility too. So that's why I say it's a question. It's not a conclusion. It's not an answer. It's a question. It's something that I'm noticing. And it's bothersome too that the truth that we'll not really ever know, the truth of the matter is, or a fact, at least a fact, is we know that people do lie. And we do know that people will lie to get more things in life and use people. So if I'm using the search filter for bipolar to find actual people with recent uploads or upload date, whatever it's called now, then I'm scrolling down through maybe 50, 60 a day, maybe more, and it's rap songs. And I've mentioned this before. And they use the word bipolar. And a lot of people use the word bipolar. One, you could say they're just using it as a term. So the weather's been bipolar in Hawaii, here in Hawaii. Okay? And then two, they're using it as a rhetoric. They know that this is something that other people use, and then more than anything, a predatorial type situation where they know that that's a search engine hit or a hashtag type hit that they already know, and they're going to use that in the title, which is more important than a hashtag. So they're going to say bipolar, whatever, whatever, rap song by so and so. So if you go in there and look at this, it's over and over and over again. They use it and they, it's to get to an actual video where there's someone that's talking about the subject and mental health. I've got to go through 20 videos. I got to scroll down to 20 videos. Okay, there's someone else. I'm scrolling down. There's just something filled in to that search engine. So if I look up suicide, which also too, I can recent upload filter, and I can look up actual people that are talking about how they feel without crying, or tips, or experiences, something I can relate to, something that will, when I'm relating to it, I can not feel alone. And I know a lot of people will identify with that. But when I look that up, if I only look up the word suicide, what comes up? Suicide Squad, that movie with I don't remember her name. Yeah, so, these words are used for a reason in titles of things. They're there for a reason. How far out is it to think that whole thing was made to swallow up the search of suicide on there? Because there's probably a lot more people involved in that situation than some people want you to know or have any idea of. The more alone in a way you are, the more you can be manipulated. So if you're going to look up suicide, use the key search word, suicide depression. Then you'll get to where you want to be. So that's another thing too, is where it's not all over with because you're pushed into a corner. There's a way. Something else I was going to talk about is I was talking to someone on here. I won't say her name just for privacy. We were talking about probably something kind of close to this. And sex came up, and we were talking about moods and sex. And I brought up it makes sense to me that the window of sexuality with mood swings is apparent. So I'm not always feeling sexual, and I'm not always into flirting or into the game. Then we will call this hypersexuality. Once I am in a hypersexual mood, looking back on my past, I know this for sure that's when I'm promiscuous. This is when I'm doing things where I look back on it when I'm not in that mood and say, whoa, what am I thinking? What was I thinking? Well, now I absolutely realize that this is a window, and I was going to jump on it. Not only was I hypersexual,
It's just if you have been held back from something, or all of a sudden the floodgate opens up and then you have this rush of this feeling, do you can you identify that? Do you recognize that that's something that's happened to you? And I was saying that it makes sense that promiscuity or sexual relations, where and for a woman then becoming pregnant with a child that's not going to have the original father or a father. And I notice quite a bit of BPD and bipolar females are single with child, usually more than one. One of my family members is she's and I know this because I know her parents, and we watched her one night with her sister, and I was young with a girlfriend, and my girlfriend wanted to do something nice for those kids, just hang out with them and get them pizza and all that kind of stuff, and have fun with them. And I was perfectly fine with that. I I know their their upbringing. I know where they came from. And there's certain gal that I still communicate with who has a big heart, who's got things going, and she's got things, she knows what she's doing and she rolls with it. She's got 7 kids and she's 29. I think that's fascinating. I really do. And I get to thinking about that, purpose, reason, why. And it's the more and more I think about it, it's just that she didn't have that family. So, and I also think that there is that motherly instinct and that urge to to breed more and more and more, and it might not have as much to do with the mood swings that I'm talking about. I'm still saying that psychologically there's still a reason. So there's that. And another thing I was going to talk about was is well, I I recently have noticed that, kind of not really recent. I've noticed that under a lot of the mental health search keywords, bipolar, BPD, etc., there's a female psychiatrist, psychologist that's always at the top, and she will say how to identify, how do you spot a, and to me that doesn't sound good. And let me get my thoughts together here. Hang on. Okay. Mainly, I was thinking about this person with the narcissistic topic or the subject. Now, if I hear narcissistic, one of the first things that comes to mind is, am I? Am I? Is that me? Are they talking about me? And this is understandable because I don't know of anything that's in life that's not driven by an authority or an authoritative situation, or something that has to do with conditioning and keeping people down into the dirt and whatever else. I've talked about this before. I'm going to talk about it again. The narcissistic term is vague. So if I watch a video about someone talking about narcissistic child abuse, then I say, okay, what about my parents? And then I start going through thinking about my parents. And then I realize, I say, okay, I got to look at all the things that my parents did do for me. And I'm looking back on my childhood and I'm realizing that my parents never did anything with me that had anything to do with my interest. They did do things with me, or they went and purchased something for me that I wanted that would occupy me, or would have something to do with my cultivation in a way. If it was them doing something with me that had anything to do with my interests, no. Never. Never, ever, ever. My parents always went with what they were told to do. So they were told to do, and then they were told to tell me what to do. And so it was always an issue with school and basically school. And if there was ever anything that they vaguely had to touch upon in occult matter or any of those types of things, it was usually on a general level. So you've got, on a cult level, you have hundreds of people sitting in pews that are being basically touched upon to do certain things, and then that goes to the house, and then that goes into the family, and that was their thing, not mine. So I'd say, I don't want anything to do with this. No, you're going to. Okay, well, that's their thing, not mine. So I say, I want this video game. Yeah, I don't know. You've got to do some things for us, okay? Yeah, that's a part of the parenting. Yeah, I got that. That's something that has nothing to do with them, and they know it, and I get that. So anytime that they would ground me, I the very thing that would video games that would occupy me to where I'm not a bother to them and their priorities, they didn't take that away from me ever. Now, if there was something that had to do with my utter freedom of going out and making things more hectic towards their concerns and their needs, they take that away from me. Skateboard. Out the door. I take my skateboard to school, and I was one of the only kids that would take the skateboard to school and put it in junior high and put it in my locker. No, we can't have that. The school, no, he can't do that. He can't do that. Well, I did it anyways. And I kept doing it, and then that backfired on me. And they put pressure on on my parents, and then my parents had to do something. And since I wasn't listening to them, they had to do some things. So I look back on this and I understand the pressure on a family, and I understand the pressure on a kid from outside shit. So I bring up the vague thing because if I was going to only be vague and say my parents are narcissists, that's all they were, I wouldn't. I'd be taking myself off into a corner because what I realized for many years before someone else tells me or conveys to me that this is what a narcissistic parent is. This is what a cluster A, cluster B, whatever. Well, I'm not really digging labels so much, and I'm not really digging how I can just be in turmoil without actually dissecting my childhood in portions and saying to myself, okay, my my parents did do this for me, and understanding that my parents had that they had nothing to do with my own interests is really something that connects me to that narcissistic thing. And still, I think that I really don't want to label them still, ever. I'd rather go I'd rather micronize the situation and say to myself, okay, well, what was I born as? What were they born as? What did they go through? What how was their parents? How was their parents' parents? And I look at these things, and all these things add up. Many people can relate to the childhood thing. They can, it's a dark, dark place for probably a lot of people that are not moody, that are not depressed so much. Maybe have sadness, maybe have some things in the way of them having a smooth relationship with their spouse or with their children. Goes back to childhood. I don't doubt this. I think about being haunted by childhood and I write it off. I say, and this is a point that someone had a video that I watched yesterday about how the abused child will write off their past by saying, oh, well, they made me strong, or it was all meant to be, or it's good for the future and everything. Well, the truth is that it actually it's an issue. And it's not an issue that's going to go away. It's the same as bullying is never going to go away, or war or any of those things. It's not ever going to go away. Now, I was born as this person. So this person, if I was born a little different with the same parents, the same as my brothers, how they can roll through life in society in a way that's more fitting than myself, then I got to ask myself, well, what was the difference between myself and my brothers? Then why am I who I am? And I'm not even close in personality to either one. I don't know how close they are to each other. I've got two brothers. How close are they to each other? I don't know if they can identify to each other. Still, they have behavioral in society that's comparable. I can at least say that. And I can say that with my sister to a degree too. She might not relate to either one of my brothers. She's still, in a society matter, all three of them are close to each other from the same parents. So what was I born as that makes me, or what was I coded as in my genetics that makes me so different? Or what happened to me in my childhood that maybe didn't happen to them in their childhood?
that had to do with my family. Well, looking back on my childhood, there was validation in behavior. And this is a point. And I needed to say this at the front of the video. If you stuck with me, I'm at 40 minutes here. If you were still with me, then this is what I was really getting at. If you've got validation from your parents towards your interests and your behavior and your essence or the actual thing that you were born as, well, if you know anything about anything, there's the accolade situation with your scholarships and your football hero, quarterback hero, your Marine, your Jimmy got a promotion, he's a sergeant, or Christie's made it into the beauty pageant, 4-H, Boy Scout hero, you got your golden arrow, you got your wolf badge, you got your Cub Scout badge, whatever the little beads that they give you, the little 2-cent beads that were made by people that are 2 cents. It's awful, man. So what was I born as? What was I, a runt? Did they consider me a runt? One thing I noticed from my childhood is if I ever did anything to fit in, it wasn't good enough. It was probably too obvious. My brother, my oldest brother, he moved out pretty quick. He was done with it. And my brother that's next up to me, my older brother, he was the golden one. And it makes sense. And there's things I admire about the guy. He was always really good at art. He had a lot of talent at a young age in the family. And I think that rolls over towards admiring your offspring, what they can produce. Because there is that proud parent that wants to cultivate vicariously. And that comes from me. That thing right there comes from me. Well, if you have something that comes from you that's doing very odd things that doesn't fit in, then we're not really getting anywhere with this thing that we made. And now it's kind of a little bit of a burden. Now it's a little bit of a, if you planted some strawberries and you've got 20 plants and you've got one plant that's making strawberries that are looking a little not so great, are you going to really care about that plant so much if you don't even rip it out of the fucking ground? A lot of people might not even want to keep their kids if it wasn't for being made to have to keep your kids. How would have life been a little different if I had been more accepting? Because this being right here that was born is not as accepting as the others. And that was always an issue with my parents, is that I was always saying, I was questioning. I was always saying,
Mm, why is that? Just do it. Just you do what you're told. I heard that a lot. You do what you're told. I didn't get along with my sixth grade teacher at all. It's probably one of the worst scenarios of a non-family member not getting along with this person. And she, as it doesn't matter because I didn't get along with male teachers as well. This is very specific though. She was telling us the route for sailing the Columbus and the Amerigo Vespucci and the the different ways that all the colonizing, the founders, the explorers, whatever bullshit. She was telling us how people from Spain went these routes, and I don't even remember because it's so stupid. She was telling us. She finally had to say, "Look, I have to tell you this stuff because it's what they tell me to tell you." And I'm 11, and I'm telling her, "Nah, I don't know though, because this seems kind of stupid because they went all these weird ways, and there's well, and then she's got to make up shit, and then she's got to come up with things that she's, the rhetoric that's come to her. She go, well, it's because they had to go. It's because of the strait. It's because of this and that and that. And she was getting really frustrated with me because I had so many questions. I was just saying, no, 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 no. And I'm 11, and she's what, maybe 35. Well, she hated my ass. She fucking hated me. And she later ran into my mom and said that it was horribly everything and blah 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 with me, and because we got into it, me and her, bad, real bad, a real altercation in front of all the kids in the class, and it didn't matter because it was gonna come anyway. And the principal, I actually had it down to the point on that very day that we got into a fight, or an altercation, we'll put it that way. I'm 11. She's 30 something years old. I've got the principal that night, or after school, whatever, with my mother next to me, saying to my principal, she's done this, she's done this, she's done this, she's done this, she's done this. And that right there is very significant. Because he said, well, I'll put you in another class. Here's this pain in the ass who's not flying with the rest of the little birdies. And I've got the principal, and I'm 11, with my mother right next to me, right off the bat, just saying, I'll just put you in another class. Is that okay with you? Is that all right? Just shut the fuck up and get the fuck out of here because you're just a pain in the ass. I said no. I said no. I said, I don't want to be trouble, I'll just stay there. Because I know she was a bitch. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter. We were moving anyways, and I knew that. I felt that there was some kind of authority type thing. I didn't know it at that age. I didn't know what authority was at that age. At 11, they were telling me what I could do and what I couldn't do every 5 seconds. I'd wear a shirt to school. They'd tell me, no, you can't wear that. I'd wear a jacket to school. You can't wear that. You have to turn it inside out, or you can't wear it at all. Well, I turn it inside out. That pissed them off. They didn't like that because I just did what I could, and they fucking hated that. And I think that's the way it was with my parents as well. The authoritative grasp where you know that you have control of your offspring by being authoritative is something that bothers me quite a bit. And I was born without consent, and my any kind of family that says, "Well, I gave birth to you, and you need to respect me because I was born without consent. You had me because you had your urges, you had your instincts, and you're gonna lay that motherfucking shit on me that you are doing me a favor. Mother's Day, Father's Day, you did me a favor. I was born without consent." You didn't do me a favor by fucking. You didn't do me a favor. You didn't do me a favor. Yeah. Your parents might use that toward you for the younger people. They might use that bullshit on you. I say dog shit. Who's doing who a favor in life? Are the farmers that pay peanuts to Mexicans doing them a favor? That are subsidized? Are the people that are let known that something's awful, are they being done a favor? There's no doubt that my parents have love in their hearts. And that's not something that I can deny. And I'm not going to. And I'm not going to say that my parents didn't spend energy on their children. They did. So I'm not going to say that they're narcissistic. So it's important to me that, and this is my opinion, that narcissism is a clinical term for people that only talk about themselves, and that's it. And that they're seeking help from psychologists that are paid, not psychiatrists, psychologists that will listen to you and possibly have good information for you, or techniques or style or something that can do something for you, intelligence, whatever. What is the difference between a narcissistic person and a narcissistic clinical situation? I'm very pissed off about narcissism being used as some kind of general vague thing of selfishness, because with mood swings there's the defensiveness in life, the defense from any kind of sexual type thing from childhood, or any kind of physical, being beat as a child, or something along the lines of being pushed aside, and then the parent is narcissistic, or the neighbor is narcissistic, or this person is narcissistic, and then we have labels going across everywhere, and then it makes it very vague, and then there's fighting, and then there's hate, and then there's bigotry, and then there's blah blah blah. How about all the little things, the micro things? How about the really realizing that everyone is selfish? And this is something that really bothers the shit out of me. Everyone is selfish. Everyone. And they come in different colors and shapes. Cliche. They come in they come in as your Jesus, and then 2 months later they're slaughtering you. They come in as your leaders, and then they're slaughtering you. I was born to be. I understand that. My parents were born to be. I understand that. A person truly has got to differentiate on their own if a person is really clinically narcissistic. And I'll say, clinically, a person that can go to a psychologist to get help is going to be someone that only talks about themselves. So you're at a party, you've got 30 people around. They've got, in Hollywood, they've got all kinds of things going on. And there's that one person who's going around saying, I've got this going on for me, blah, blah, blah. Ew, this celery is gross in this Bloody Mary. Ew. On to the next person. I've got this going on for me. And this probably all has to do with defense system and anxiety. Probably. On to the next person. On to the next person. Out the door, into the Lamborghini, on to the next party. I've got this going on here. They're just basically promoting themselves. Sound familiar, YouTubers? there's no difference. The only difference is intelligence. Why are they in Hollywood? Why are you in your location in a little town, big town? Why are the people in Hollywood? Why are you where you're at? What's the difference between me? I need more numbers. I need more subscribers. I need this. I need that. What's the difference? What's the difference in between it? Huh? What is it? That's a question, because it's a big one for me. No, I'm not perfect. No, I'm not. I'm not ever going to be perfect. I'm not ever going to be pleasing 100% people. I'm not going to care about pleasing 100% people. I'm not going to care about being 100% myself. I don't want to be 100%. I'm going to live and I'm going to die. There's no point to being 100%. There's no point if I'm going to do an art, there's no point to be to being perfect. I get off on not being perfect when I'm doing art. I love it. And that's mood, that's feeling that I can generate. I send my love to anyone that'll accept it. I send my love to everyone publicly. We're all strangers. Crying on videos, crying about whatever, and then hopping right back on the gravy train. This fucking YouTube thing is poison. Same as TikTok, same as everything. It's poison. And I'd like to say, and I'd like to think that there's a crack in there where people can connect with others like-minded. I'd like to think that there's an outlet that only certain people will realize. Yeah. I hate the fact that there's people that are going to go 9 to 5 back home. Hold on, let me stop at the convenience store. Let me get a bag of chips. Let me get some pretzels. Let me get some whatever. Forget my gingivitis. Forget my ovarian cyst. Forget this. Forget that. Let me just get to the convenience store. Let me get my shit. Let me get back home real quick. In the door. Simpsons are on at X time. Wonderful. Let me look at memes for 5 hours. Let me watch American Idol and everything else that has to do with nothing. Nothing. And then get on to sleep. Well, I'll take an Ambien that completely destroys my brain. And then wake up in the morning and take 5 cups of coffee. And then make my way to Twin Towers and fall off the fucking top down to shit. And I'm displeased. I'm displeased about life. Very badly. Very badly. There's too much directive matter going on. And I want nothing that I say to be directive. I want that. I want it to be not directive. I want it to be more informant in some kind of information. You know, I fucking hate the directive thing. Refer back to earlier in the video, the young guy who's not flying with everyone else gets treated different than everyone else.